Edition of the Sports Max Zone with cricket. Jamaica Tallawahs are champions of the Hero CPL 2022 after beating Barbados Royals in last Friday's final at Providence in Guyana. Royals won the toss and posted 161 for 7 of their 20 overs. Azam Khan top scored with 51 against Fabian Allen and Nicholson Gordon, who split 6 wickets, but that total was not enough as the Tallawahs cruised to 162 for 2, led by 83 from tournament MVP Brandon King to win by 8 wickets. Gerard Morris-Seeley has the recap.
Barbados Royals and Jamaica Tallawahs clashing for the Hero CPL trophy. Royals taking first knock. Rakeem Cornwall getting the ball rolling with this boundary. Kyle Mears got in the action with a boundary of his own. The two set the Royals up for a big score after blasting 63 in the power play. But Cornwall was outfoxed by the man of the match, Fabian Allen, for 36.
Fabian Allen as his man. He continues that streak of taking wickets in his last 6. Make it 7, including this one.
Mears soon followed for 29. Azam Khan then took control of the innings, getting alive thanks to some misjudgment from Miguel Pretorius. The Pakistani hit 7 boundaries in his 40-ball knock, including 3 massive 60s.
Wallet! 6 more.
This boundary would bring up a half century for the 24-year-old, his 4th of the tournament.
This is hit into the gap. This is good from Azam Khan. It takes him to 50. 4th half century in Hero CPL.
Khan looking to push on, but will miss this delivery, giving Allen his 3rd wicket. And the Royals would only manage 161 for 7 in their 20 overs.
Well bowled, wants the appeal given, and a tackle as well. And he's down with another El Dorado.
Tallawahs were in early trouble at 1 for 1 in their pursuit of 162, with Mears serving Kenar Lewis a golden duck.
Golden struggles again, and this is a big breakthrough for the Royals and the skipper. El Dorado celebrations all around.
Qualifier 2 Centurion Shamar Brooks continued his good form for the Tallawahs. Here's one of his 8 boundaries. Brandon King changed gears after the power play, stroking Obed McCoy sweetly down the ground for a boundary. He and Brooks put on 86 for the 2nd wicket, frustrating the Royals bowlers with shots all around the ground.
That's gorgeous. Very gorgeous from Shamar Brooks.
The Royals will manage to get Brooks to 47 with the score at 87 for 2 at the halfway stage. But King continued his onslaught, stroking 13 fours and smashing 2 sixes in his 50-ball knock of 83.
Exquisite from Brandon King.
He brought up his half century in the 13th over, with the Tallawahs well on their way to victory.
Chip in the air to bring up another half century here. Number 8 for Brandon King.
And with just 6 runs left for victory, King blasted this McCoy delivery over Lawan to give the Tallawahs the 8-wicket win and their 3rd CPL title.
And the Jamaica Tallawahs are champions once again of Hero CPL. They are now 3-time champions.
A comprehensive win there by the Tallawahs. Let's hear now from both captains.
It's a tough pill to swallow. Obviously, we've done well throughout the season, only losing 3 games. But, you know, tonight was a crucial night to win the game, and the guys didn't cross tonight. Kudos to the opposition. I thought they played very well.
161 at the halfway stage. What was your assessment about that score set?
I just thought we were like 20 runs short with the start that me and Jimbo got. I thought we could have get like 180. Might not, but 160 in the final runs on the board. I thought it was a decent total still, but the batsmen play well.
I think adjectives are inadequate in describing how I feel now. You know, the type of disrespect that we endure during the competition, you know, it's all of it now bottled up, so the emotions kind of hard to come out now.
How significant, I must ask you, is that contribution from your backroom staff in terms of this outcome that you've secured tonight, lifting this trophy in the 10th edition of Hero CPL?
I think the backroom staff play their part, you know, but special mention have to be given to my 16 or 17 players here. You know, I form a leadership group. Brandon King, Kenar Lewis, Fabian Allen, Shamar Brooks. You know, they were integral part of my leadership group, an integral part in pushing the team team in a particular direction. You know, to the other guys who played a supporting role in that, the overseas players were tremendous. You know, a lot of credit have to be given to them. You know, at some point in the competition, we see him down and out, but those guys rallied around my captaincy, believe in me as a captain, and now we are CPL champions.
So the CPL 2022 now in the history books. Joining us to review the final, cricket commentator Nikhil Uttamchandani. Nikhil, welcome back to the Sportsmax Zone. We had labelled the Royals favourites to win this final, but the momentum by the Tallawahs coming off their eliminator win and then their qualifying 2 win, they took straight into the final.
Yeah, Lance, and I think we mentioned it. I mean, the fact that they had to take that hard route to get to that final, finish 4th, a team that many weren't so sure would finish in that top 4 and make the playoffs, you know, a couple of weeks ago. But what it shows me is, I think, a lot about Rob McCall's leadership, what he said there about the fact that he formed that leadership group. And you could see throughout the tournament, he got very animated on the field. And there were times where I watched him and they were really under some pressure. And in the field, he would bring his guys in a huddle, and you could just see how enthusiastic he was about getting them back in this game. I think the fact that he's returned to the West Indies team now, being given the West Indies vice captaincy as well, has massively elevated himself in terms of his leadership, in terms of his composure as well, because I think he showed great composure in that final, especially under pressure at some serious times. You know, his decisions, Fabian Allen on over very late to get that crucial wicket of Azam Khan. I think the Tallawahs and, of course, my good friend George Davis will feel very happy about this win.
and the fact that Shivnarine Chandapal, as a newly minted coach, gets a CPL title pretty early in the piece for him, along with Curtly Ambrose, who was a long-time teammate of him for the West Indies team. Credit to that pair as well.
Yeah, it says a lot about, I think, their leadership. I mean, 2 of the very best stalwarts in terms of West Indies cricket, and the fact that they're able to lead a team. Hearing Sir Curtly Ambrose especially speak about what that win meant to him, I think it was extremely impactful, because here's a man that's really achieved it all at the highest level in his playing days. And many people, you know, we see Sir Curtly and we think a very nonchalant figure, but to see the passion on his face when they actually were able to lift that trophy, he deserves a lot of credit, because I think the bowling attack this year is so improved from the Tallawahs. Of course, they added veterans like Mohamed Amir, they brought in Chris Green, but the way he got Nicholson Gordon firing with his team, I just think Imad Wasim was excellent. He's been there for a couple of seasons. Sir Curtly Ambrose and that bowling attack, it was an area they struggled in 2021. I think they've come back in a huge way, and the coaching staff on the whole, management, deserve a lot of credit.
Nikhil, if it's one thing this CPL has taught me, is that, you know, there's a big difference between big names on paper versus playing as a team, and that's what we saw from the Jamaica Tallawahs.
Yeah, I think it was beautiful. I'll pick one person in Shamar Brooks, and I think it sort of exhibits what the Tallawahs did all season compared to the other teams. I think actually the 2 teams that were in the final did it well. Throughout that season, you look at different times, someone else kept stepping up. Early on, it was Mohamed Amir with the new ball. Brandon King, you know, started hot, slowed down throughout the middle, but then really picked it back up. But Shamar Brooks, I mean, an average of 9.5 before that Guyana leg, and then now to average 100 in those 3 matches. Boy, was he something special. And I think, I know you guys touched on it earlier in terms of him replacing Hetmeyer. He fully deserves it, and it's the way that he's capitalized on the opportunity. But as you mentioned, Mariah, that team-oriented approach, and I think it says a lot about Rob McCall's captaincy, the team-oriented approach where it's that next man up mentality. When someone doesn't get it going, someone else puts their hand up and is able to show that responsibility. And don't overlook the fact that Fabian Allen and Brandon King have both returned to play for their home franchise this year. I spoke to both of them during that CPL, and you could just hear the passion in their voice to represent Jamaica again.
Yeah, and as you touched on the West Indies, one player from the Jamaica Tallawahs that I feel very disappointed didn't make the West Indies team, Fabian Allen. I think his leadership for the Tallawahs, and you heard Rahman talk about selecting a leadership group among the rest of the players. Fabian, you know, I felt like he was dealt a bad card there.
Well, I mean, this man it gives you everything. A world-class fielder, I mean, showing very, very capable left-arm spin abilities. And also his batting, we know, saw in the sky at 60, but we've seen it throughout world cricket. Yeah. I'm disappointed as well, but I think early on in that tournament, and pretty much throughout the tournament, he was disappointed with the bat in hand. And it's no secret that Fabian Allen needs to be better with the bat. I think had he got a few scores, substantial scores, yes, he got the 150 against TKR, but needed some more early on to really cement that place. However, I do think, yes, he's missed out on this World Cup, but I don't think we'll see him, not in the maroon. I'm sure we'll see him, I should say, in the maroon very soon.
Nikhil, we can't leave the building without talking about the Barbados Royals, because what an occasion to have your worst game of the tournament. We were having a watch party here at Sportsmax, and you could have heard the silence in the room when Kyle Mears won the toss and batted, because we felt that having won the toss and being in control of the situation, he would have taken second strike. Not a good day for the boys from Barbados at all.
Yeah, I think, George, cricket is a beautiful game. I think if Kyle Mears had to go back to that toss, I still think he would have batted first. You look at the way that they've gone about things during the season. I mean, first of all, to win 9 out of 12 games is a fantastic accomplishment. But they love to set the tone. They batted first 7 times going into that final in the CPL. And I also, yes, they lost their way through the middle. They only scored a run a ball between over 6 and 15. And I think that's what cost them. But Azam Khan, another good 50 from him, third on the trot. 161 in a final. I know Mears said they were 20 runs short. I'm taking that because I think scoreboard pressure in a final, it gives you that 10 to 20 run extra cushion. However, I do think the bowlers, they clearly weren't on song. I mean, it wasn't a great day for Obed McCoy, Ramon Simmons, the youngster, and a lot of these players in a new experience in the final. But credit to the Tallawahs. I have to credit Brandon King, the way he started very slowly, rode that early storm out, and then that 86-run partnership between him and Brooks. The Tallawahs, I think, just outplayed the Royals on that day.
Yeah, let's move on out to the CPL team of the tournament that was selected by the commentary panel, and a couple of big names missing. Let's have a quick look at the team. Oh, we don't have the team, but Brandon King, Nikhil, wasn't included. We know that for many innings in the first stage of the competition, he didn't get a lot of runs, but he did have that 104 and then the magnificent innings at the end that won them the title player of the tournament. And there's a team: Johnson Charles, Kyle Mears, Faf du Plessis, Rovman Paul, Raymond Reefer, Imad Wasim, Jason Holder, David Visa, Azari Joseph, Mohamed Amir, and Sunil Narayan. Ramon Simmons, 12th man. What do you make of that all-star team, Nikhil?
Well, as you said, Lance, I think the biggest shock is no Brandon King. I mean, how can you have the MVP of the tournament not in the team of the tournament? But I will, give the benefit of the doubt to the commentators. I'm not sure when the team was selected. And I think, obviously, Brandon King became the leading run scorer in the tournament in that final itself, in that 83. I don't know if that had a part to play if the team was selected before, but I'm pretty sure if you gave the opportunity to them to pick the team again, he would definitely be. I mean, 422 runs, the most in the CPL. How could he not be in the side? Some other names I think that worth mentioning: Raheem Cornwall. I think a lot of people are overlooking his contribution, but 242 runs at the top. He battled injury throughout the tournament, but also 7 wickets at an average of 10 with the ball in hand. He was so instrumental, and this is a man that hasn't been back with the ball for St. Lucia in his previous years. But this year he showed his value, and maybe even an Obed McCoy, but I think a pretty balanced team. Definitely Brandon King has got to be in there though.
Yeah, we can confirm that the team was actually picked before the end of the tournament. I'm not sure how long before the end of the tournament, but our information is that the team was selected before the end of the tournament, which is kind of strange because here you have a player who ends up being player of the tournament and he's not in the team 11, the 11 for the overall tournament. But outside of that, there were some question marks. There were people who felt that Reefer is a bit of a dodgy selection as well.
Well, I think Raymond Reefer, obviously we saw his impact. I mean, the first 5 matches, to be able to strike 150 and an average over 30 for the Tallawahs. He did lose his way though throughout the middle, and you could just sense the disappointment when he spoke after that final. I'm really excited for him though in West Indies colours. I think this is a big opportunity for him, one that's long deserved. But I definitely think it's probably a touch and go because the way he started the tournament was an instrumental part of why they were able to make the playoffs with those early wins, but then wasn't really able to follow up as the tournament went into the latter stages.
Yeah, Ramon Simmons, the young Barbadian, they're getting in as a 12th man, showed a lot of promise as a left-arm pacer, played with a lot of maturity in a lot of the games. How highly do you rate him?
Oh, very highly, man. I mean, 20 years old. I batted against him, Lance, so I can tell you he's quick. But I think what he brings to the table, and this is why, many people think this man he's only 20 years old. I should say he's a boy, but people believe that this is the first time we see Ramon Simmons. This young man was fast-tracked through the first-class setup. He's played 4 first-class matches earlier this year, and there's clearly something about him. That left arm ability, you know, he's a very skiddy type bowler, and I think that's something that is a bit different to what we have in the Caribbean. Definitely a huge future ahead of him. And I think also his consistency. Yes, he wasn't great in the final, but you heard David Miller talk about it. You heard Kyle Mears, his two captains. The way that he was able to bowl in real tough situations, you know, in the death overs against quality batting, and hold his nerve and take wickets at a good click in terms of his pace, I thought he was very impressive and definitely one to watch out for in the future.
Yeah, Nikhil, great talking to you on the Sportsmat Zone as usual, and we look forward to having more chats with you on cricket.
Cheers, man. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, we'll be back with more on the Sportsmat Zone after this.
Wave the hand, wave the hand, wave the hand from the Caribbean. Wave the hand, wave the hand, wave the hand from your number one. From you ready for the competition. You not take intimidation. Woman or man, wave no hand.